Our son Ryan, who is the youngest of three, was diagnosed with ADD when he was in kindergarten. We realized he also had an auditory issue where it was better for him to learn if he saw it as opposed to if he heard it. He had an older brother and sister that had absolutely, they were great students, no issues. We weren't on top of them all the time like we were with Ryan. He started out in a parochial prep school his freshman year and just failed miserably. I think Ryan finally gave up. He was just like, okay, I accept the punishment. Okay, I'm not going to get the grade. His whole attitude was so, whatever, let me figure out other ways to get attention. If you can't be good at being good, you'll be good at being bad. And I think that was the syndrome that Ryan was really into for a long time, a really long time. Ryan figured out where he could skate in certain classes and, where he could hide in the sports. Ryan had also sort of become a very good liar in regards to, did you do your homework? Oh yeah, I did my homework. Did you do the work at school? Why is it they're saying you didn't do this? And, oh, no. But I mean, it was just it just got worse and worse and worse. It was probably the worst year of our family's life because we were all trying to fix Ryan. Whatever counselors they had basically said, this is what we have, and if that doesn't work, well, you're kind of on your own. We had therapists involved. We had, he was on medication since he was in 5th grade. We had outside learning centers, and none of it really worked. And at the end of the year, they basically told us that he couldn't come back. Called Hyde and made an appointment, and they said they had someone coming into the area and that they'd be happy to meet us at the house. So Jason Warnick showed up at our door, and this is like 3 or 4 days before Christmas, and sat down in our dining room and talked to Ryan and I for about 2.5, 3 hours. And I was really impressed with the questions they asked. It wasn't your typical educational school type questions, because they were asking, how he saw himself and what he saw himself doing and, what he wanted to do. And it wasn't like, what did you do wrong or why did you end up, being kicked out of school. So we went and looked at a couple other schools. Again, just too much like where he had come from, and knowing that that hadn't worked, we decided to take a chance with Hyde. 3 weeks into Ryan being at school, there was a difference in Ryan already. So whatever it was that they were doing, they had my interest, because for a kid with ADD who had auditory issues, who had no focus, who every time I would tell him to do something, it was kind of like in one ear and out the other, all of a sudden sitting there and listening to him comment on other people's stories and being so insightful, I knew he was listening, and listening like he had never listened before. And seeing what a difference 3 weeks at this school had made. Just, how is it that I couldn't figure that out on my own? And how is it that after putting him, in all these other places and learning centers and therapists, medication, none of that fixed him. But in 3 weeks' time, I saw a difference in my son that was, as a parent, there's nothing better to finally see that your kid is on the right track. We had a meeting with the dean of students, and it was about, I don't know, I guess there might have been 10 kids in the room and 10 sets of parents, and we all listened as the dean went around and talked about each of our kids. And in that moment, he had described Ryan. I said, are you psychic? How could you possibly know my son so well in 3 weeks' time? Ryan's now going into his junior year at Endicott. Last year he worked for the governor of Connecticut. He interned there and some local representatives. And this year he's interning for the mayor of Beverly, who just offered him a full-time job. Somehow or another, that team of faculty and peers helped Ryan just get a glimpse of what success looked like and what it felt like. And I think it must have felt really good for him. He just responded like he's never responded to anything before.